capability is about testing to learn. Testing answers the fundamental question, how do you know? Now, what's important about this is that we think about testing and answering the question, how do you know, throughout problem solving, not just testing solutions. When people hear testing and experimentation, they're thinking about the solution. But at every point of the process in problem solving, it's a valid question, how do you know? Here's my problem statement, how do you know? Here's my analysis of cause and effect, how do you know? Here's the criteria for my potential solution, how do you know? So the point is that testing is anytime we want to answer the question, how do you know? We should be thinking about testing. What experiment can we run? What test can we run that helps us answer the question, how do you know? Now, fundamentally, what we're trying to do is balance confidence of being right versus risk of being wrong. Now, first, let's talk about risk. There's two types of risk. One is effort risk. Effort risk is where the rest of our problem-solving efforts might be headed in the wrong path, might be counterproductive or non-productive because we got the problem statement right or because we selected the wrong analysis tool. And so I want to make sure I get the problem statement right before I have a risk of wasted effort with myself or my team the rest of the way through the problem-solving process. Now, effort risk is relatively small compared to the other type of risk, which is outcome risk. Outcome risk is where we risk getting a bad outcome. All right, now, of course, we have to consider the context of the particular problem. If I'm worried about, what my cup of coffee in the morning, that might not be the same risk as something that involves employee safety or customer safety or public safety. So we have to understand the context of the problem. Is it worth just plowing ahead because the outcome risk is small? Or do we have to be very careful and deliberate to make sure we avoid that outcome risk? Now, confidence, on the other side, is about how big our knowledge gap is and how much we have behind it. Now, the key is that, again, we have to tap into our intuition sometimes to know exactly how much confidence we have or do not have about the problem statement, about the cause and effect, about potential solutions. And so fundamentally, we have to balance our confidence in our knowledge throughout the process with the risk, strategically and with purpose. The bigger the problem, the bigger the outcome risk, the bigger the effort risk, and the lower the confidence, the more we should test strategically early on. The lower those risks and the higher our confidence, the less we have to deal with. If gas gauge says empty on your car, going to the fuel station and putting fuel in the car is a pretty low risk thing, right? We have high confidence that we're right and pretty low risk. If our car, just stops and there's fuel leaking out, continuing to drive it is pretty high risk, and we have low confidence that we know what's going on. So we have to balance confidence and risk as we test strategically throughout the problem-solving process. Now, as we think about testing, think about fast and cheap experiments. Now, if you don't like the word cheap, use the word inexpensive, but fundamentally, fast and cheap experiments is about gaining fast and cheap learning. How quickly and how inexpensively can we gain knowledge through our experiments? So we want to find creative ways in which to test to boost our confidence and reduce our risk. That's what we're trying to do. Now, our knowledge is always accelerated. Our knowledge gain is always accelerated by the generation of hypotheses. If I do this, I expect to get that result. Anytime we develop a hypothesis, we are accelerating our learning because we are building a base model of knowledge that we are then testing. We're not just testing to see what answer we get. We're testing to see if our model of knowledge is accurate. And that accelerates our knowledge gain because it's not just seeing what happens, it's seeing what happens against our knowledge. Many, many years ago, I was traveling internationally when my soccer team was playing a match, and I got a text that the coach had changed the formation on me. Now, before asking what happened, I wanted to have my own hypothesis. When that coach, that assistant coach, changed that formation, I expect this to be the result. When I got a confirmation that that indeed was the result, it provided much better confirmation of my knowledge. Not just what happened and what didn't happen, but is my knowledge and understanding of the system at play effective and accurate? I once was giving a speech right before or after a very well-known professional poker player. And they were telling me about when they would call on a certain bet when they think they're going to lose. They might be laying a very poor hand and they think the other person has a very good hand. Not just very good, but something specific. I think they have 2 queens in their hand. Why would you call the bet when you know you're going to lose or when you think you're going to lose? Because that is money that you are paying to test your hypothesis. Am I reading the situation right? Is my knowledge about this right? And this professional poker players would say that lost bet, that intentionally lost bet, was really valuable knowledge gained that allowed them to be more effective moving forward. And that really brings us to the key point about testing to learn. Testing is about acquiring knowledge. Knowledge that you can use again and again and again, not just within that particular problem-solving effort, but future problem-solving efforts. So test to learn, gain knowledge, do so strategically and deliberately, and your problem-solving will be better for it.